just wondering, what was it like to work with the other voice actors in the game? And
I wouldn't know because we worked alone. Yeah, on a lot of video games and virtually all of anime, we work alone in the booth, and so they seclude us probably for to protecting the other virtue of the actors. No, let's not. Has nothing to do with that, but you have to isolate the characters, especially on games like that, because we are going to original animation from animation that originates in another country, and we've got to kind of lock up to that. So if you have a group of actors who act like 5-year-olds in the studio, we'd never get it done. We all know each other, we're all friends, and we misbehave terribly. So, and that's very technical work sometimes, especially if we're matching lip flaps like in anime, or in the case of that game, I think we did some of that too. It's a very technical process to do that, and we have to be very focused. So I don't even know who else was in the game, except for what I saw on the credits list. Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you for playing.
Thanks. Hey, Steve, huge fan of your video game work, but I just wanted to bring up Bulletstorm.
Oh, nice.
Because I don't know if anybody's played that, but it is like a pure, like constant stream of profanity throughout this entire game.
I can't say one word from that game.
Well, I was gonna ask, was there any, I know it's been a while, you obviously do tons of stuff, but is there any lines in that game that you either A, had troubles with because there was so much, or ones that stand out in your mind still that you're like, I can't believe they wrote that line, and I can't believe I voiced that?
Yeah, pretty much all of them. Well, I'm not offended by anything, so the fouler they could get, the better it was for me. And
you really owned it.
Yeah, I don't know if they had a marketing campaign here like they did in the States, but basically we had a campaign in the States where I abused the players into buying the game. Did you have that here?
I don't think so.
I would call it. They would have these commercials, and I would come on as Grayson Hunt, and I would say, get off your mom's couch and take some money out of her purse and go buy the game. But I would also call them names which referred to a part of a man's anatomy and a part of a woman's anatomy that were put together into one word, which I can't say in this
Oh yeah, we had a couple of those.
Okay, so
yeah.
that I was so proud of that. I had never seen anything like that done before. It was hilarious. It was really hilarious, and it worked for the ad campaign. It was just kind of a free-for-all. That game was a free-for-all, but it was also a really good game.
Yeah. Actually, I feel like it was underappreciated.
I think
but
so. Yeah.
I think that kind of level of profanity might have been a bit too much of a barrier of entry for people. But
Maybe.
when you actually got into it, it was hilarious.
Yeah, it's sort of liberating. You go into your room and you play for 12 hours and come back out in the world. You don't have to cuss at all.
Thanks a lot, Steve.
Yeah, thank you. Hi.
Hey.
I'm sorry, moms and dads in here.
Yeah, I want to make a follow-up question to that, but I want to try my real question. Anyways,
Doesn't feel dirty. Everybody feels dirty.
In a good way.
Yeah.
I'm wearing a trench coat.
Yeah, I know.
Go with
Don't open it. After hours, Ben only. Okay.
When is that?
I don't know.
At any rate, first and foremost, thanks for lending your delicious voice to everything.
Thank you. I like that.
Anybody I
Delicious.
talk to, that's how I describe it.
Nice.
And furthermore, I was going to say, for getting into voice acting and all that good stuff, you've been doing it for ages.
Yes.
And me being an actor, it's something I've thought about. But did you ever do any just straight up acting before getting into it, or since? Like, you just strictly went into voice and that was it?
Yeah, I had no prior training. I was thinking at first that I was going to be a musician. I was playing in an R&B band during the 80s when it was all heavy metal. In fact, we were opening for heavy metal acts. It actually went well and it went terribly all at the same time. We'd open up for bands. There was a band called Double D Nose, and we were opening up for bands like Whitesnake and some of these crazy bands who were just getting started back then. But we were a 15-piece R&B stage band with horn section and background vocalists and doing steps on stage and spandex. It was ridiculous. It was just ridiculous. So I thought I was going to do that, and then I thought I was going to be pre-med, and I wasn't very good at the science part of it, the mathematics.
Hey.
That kind of took me right out of that.
Yeah, I feel that.
And I held a ton of other careers while I was doing voiceover.
As we all have to.
Yeah, I got into it very accidentally, and I worked my way up through a low-budget film company to an executive position. I was head of marketing at a film company and traveling to the Cannes Film Festival and doing stuff, but I hated it because the people were all trying to kill each other in business, as they do in a lot of entertainment.
Yeah.
But in voiceover, I just found it to be a very friendly environment. Whether I didn't make a lot of money, I made very, very little money couldn't support myself on it for many years.
Took a
So
while.
I had 2, 3, 4 jobs at a time to support that. But I learned how to act in the process of doing that. And just because I loved it so much, I just watched what other people were doing and absorbed as much as I could. So I didn't have any classical training, and since then I've been offered a lot of on-camera things, and I don't like to do it because I don't like to wear makeup. I don't like to sit around for 14 hours to do 10 minutes of work. I'd rather just go in and do my job. I like to work, and I like to be behind the scenes. I don't want to be a face out there that, you know, where I lose my sense of privacy. I like to be able to go to the store and not, you know, nobody knows me. I'm here, and you guys know me for a few days, and I sort of feel like a rock star, and then I go home and I'm just the guy taking out the trash and cleaning the cat box again.
That's kind of valid.
And I like that. I like to live a normal life. It's great. So I've done a few little on-camera cameos here and there for some really bad projects. And we just did a movie called I Know That Voice. I don't know if that's available here. Yeah, and so I did like a little spot on that. That was
So
really
as
fun.
yourself?
As myself, yeah.
Okay.
We're all just talking about the business, and it's like all the guys and girls who've been working in voiceover for the last 50 years. They even have June Foray in it. I mean, it's got some really brilliant classic voice actors in this thing. Rob Paulson, Maurice LaMarche, a lot of these guys. Billy West is in it. It's fantastic. And so that I did a cameo in that, and I talked, you know, about the business. And so for that, it's a little bit easier.
Yeah.
And I did a little cameo in a terrible movie called Apocalypse Kiss. And with
I don't know, tell like that.
DC Douglas, he's a great friend of mine, and he played the serial killer in this thing. You guys know DC Douglas?
Yeah.
He's crazy. He's so funny. But I'm working with him on a show called Rescue Bots, and DC asked me if I would do a little cameo in this thing, and I haven't seen it. He told me it's not that good, but but it's in the production value, and it is really great. Apparently, it was one of these Kickstarter things. And
But sometimes it's just as nice.
yeah, I have no idea. Maybe it is good. I don't know.
Just to him, he's
I don't know. I shouldn't say that. But I did a little cameo in that. And for me to memorize, there's like 10 lines of dialogue. For me to memorize that put me through so much stress. I think I sweat through 3 sets of
Oh, yeah,
clothes.
because you just did the.
I'm not used to doing that. It's just a muscle I don't use. So I really have no interest in being a superstar. I don't care about that. I like to do really good work, and I care about the projects
And
I'm
you're
working on.
still a superstar anyways, but.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you. Hi. Hello, Steve. How are you? You look awesome, man.
Thanks.
There's so many video games where I recognize your voice. And I say, oh, that guy, the guard from Uncharted, that's Steve Blum. And also one of the mechanized patriots
Oh, yeah.
in Bioshock.
Yes.
It said some terribly racist things.
Yes, he did, and I apologize. I apologize for that.
It's fine. It was kind of hilarious.
But I did get destroyed, so.
Yeah. And also, my question is, how do you handle like something like a great teacher Onizuka, where Wendy Lee and you have to handle like almost 70% of the cast?
Wow, that was a weird one. Great. Have you guys seen Great Teacher Onizuka? That was the craziest anime I've ever worked on because we didn't have a script. Usually, in anime, what they'll do is they'll take the original Japanese translation into English, which doesn't fit anything on screen, and we have to rewrite the script. It's called an ADR script. And I did that professionally. That was one of my jobs, to support myself in voiceover. I did that for Digimon and Trigun and some of the old great shows. And so I had a pretty good knowledge of how to do that quickly. So we didn't have a script. All we had was a translation. And we came into the room, and people like Wendy and I had to basically write every line for our character on the fly. We saw it on the screen. We sort of knew the context. And then I just had to write it to make sure it fit in. And I've never seen the show, so I was terrified to know if there was even any context left after we did that without anything to watch. Because as writers, we will watch the whole show. We'll agonize over the lines, and I would spend 40 hours on a 20-minute script. Here, it was literally on the fly. I was making them up as I went. I made up that whole show. I mean, everything that he said, I made up
It
almost
turned
every
out
line.
well, surprisingly.
Well, thankfully, I guess it came out okay. And he was such an outlandish character that we get away with a lot, and so I'm glad it came out well. But yeah, that was quite the experience.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you. Yay! You look adorable.
Thank you. Okay. I just had a question about not necessarily one of your like evil characters. I mean, he's just really kind of angry.
Yes.
Ogren from Dragon Age Origins.
Yeah.
Belching take after belching take. How did you do that?
Kind of like that.
You do it on command.
When you're drunk, it sort of comes out. Oh, yeah.
That is so cool. I thought you'd have to drink like liter upon liter of soda or something.
Well, I did that outside just in case anybody asked the question.
No, Ogren was I stunt belch for other actors sometimes. So, and you know, yeah, I do all kinds of disgusting body sounds, vomiting. Yeah, I mean, I'm known for body sounds, so for me that's a very natural process. The problem was with Ogren, he belched so much that I ran out of gas sometimes and I would get the hiccups. And there was one day that I came in there and I had to do this gigantic belch, and it was right in the middle of a monologue, and I drank like 3 Diet Pepsis, and I belched so hard I threw up in my mouth. No, but I loved working on Ogren, and the funny thing about working on that character was that they said the direction was usually more drunk, making more drunk. And they actually encouraged me to drink in the studio, which I didn't do, but they said maybe you should take a shot of something, just not slurring enough and pining enough. But I love that character. He was so much fun, and I think my favorite line, speaking of the gas from Ogren, my favorite line was "Fart me a lullaby."
Exactly. Yes. I used to have a button that said that on there.
It just doesn't get any better than that. And I have little kids. Well, I had little kids at the time. They're big kids now, but we all laughed at that stuff. I mean, farts are still funny. So.
Exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm almost 20 and I love fart humor.
Hey, yeah, me too. Hey, I'm over 50 and I still like fart humor. It's hilarious to me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yay for farts! Yay! Everybody does it. Don't be ashamed. Let's all fart together. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Can you imagine that in a panel? Just this giant cloud comes up.
Hi, Steve.
Hi.
So I got 2 quick questions and 1 long one.
Okay.
What was the microphone you said yesterday that your son recently, that you're getting into voice acting for, has just gotten?
Oh, it's called an Apogee.
An Apogee?
Apogee. It's a USB mic, and it's made specifically for Apple products.
Okay,
And
perfect.
they're like $200. I should do commercials for them. Apogee, you owe me.
Apogee.
Or whoever's filming for YouTube, Apogee.
Do you
I
own
am your biggest supporter.
microphones?
It's an amazing microphone though. It's about that big and comes with a little tripod, and you plug it into an iPhone or an iPad.
Okay,
and,
perfect.
And you just get like a cheaper free editing app, and you can do auditions from your car.
Yeah.
Or any sound treated thing. In my hotel room, I make a little pillow for it, and I stick the microphone in there, and I record my auditions. And I've used it before for broadcast stuff. I've had to send stuff to do like a pickup line for a show, or a couple lines for Toonami.
Okay.
And yeah, and they're really great mics.
Okay,
Really
awesome.
great mics. And it's not a huge investment for somebody just getting started.
My unorthodox question that I've been asking all the celebrities is, have you ever had a role that you turned down but later regretted, or possibly wish that you could have done?
No,
No?
because I don't turn down anything, because
Okay.
I'm a voice whore. No, the only role that I turned down ever was a role that I didn't know what I was getting into when I walked into the room. They just called it Project X. It was an anime, and I walked in, and they said, "You're this big monster with tentacles."
Oh, God.
And I had never seen hentai before. I didn't know what it was. So, I start out as this really gross creature, and I thought, this is kind of fun. And then all of a sudden, there's this little schoolgirl, and then all of a sudden, the monster's attacking the schoolgirl, and all of a sudden, there's cameras inside, and it's like, oh my God. And so I got up, and I apologized, and I said, I can't do this. I just can't do it. And it was, that's not my thing. So I walked out, and I gave them the money back. Or they didn't even pay me yet. I just ripped up the contract, and I walked out. But I won't do that kind of thing.
No, fair enough.
But I don't have any regrets, honestly. Even the jobs that I really would have loved to get, and I didn't, I have no regrets. I've gotten to play so many amazing characters, and if I didn't get it, one of my really good friends did. And so I'm happy that it might have helped their career.
Okay.
In fact, one of my buddies just sent me a thing the other day, some auditions that he was reading for, and it had samples from stuff that I had done. It was for a video game, some soldier. And he said, A, I can't do that voice, but B, why are they recasting you?
Yeah.
And so I don't know what the reason is that they're recasting me, but what I do know is that one of my friends will get the role. So I don't care. It's all good, and that's what I love about the voiceover community, is that we all support each other in that.
Mhm. My last quick one is, could you do your best impersonation of Peter Cullen?
Oh God, I can't do an impression of Peter. God,
the best Optimus Prime you could do.
Transform and roll out.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you. I saw Peter, I'm working with him right now on a show called Transformers Rescue Bots, and Peter is working on the show too. We're back together again. And we don't get to work together in the same room, but we really bonded on Transformers Prime. And I told him that whenever I describe him, I always say that he's this really dapper, sweet-looking man who can unhinge his jaw and release this gigantic vibratory sound that it literally vibrates the whole room when he speaks. It's uncanny. It's really an uncanny experience to be next to him in the booth.
Thank you, Steve.
Hello.
Hi.
May I make a request?
Sure.
Another Dragon Age related thing. Can I hear Dwarven Crafts, fine Dwarven Crafts? Remember?
Is Ogren?
Yes.
Oh.
No, not Ogren. Yeah, Gorn.
Oh, I don't remember what he sounded like.
Oh, well, that's okay.
Was he like a Barker kind of older
He was
man?
like,
Love and crafts.
no.
That sort of, no? I don't know.
Never mind.
I'll just go through
my
all of my
question-
voices. That's all I do. Except for the Barbie voice. I haven't worked that out yet.
But my question was, are there any notable voice actors that you sometimes just hang out with, like go for a beer and stuff like that?
Oh yeah, like everybody I can. We're all friends in the industry. I keep mentioning with Rescue Bots. We've become like a little family, and we used to do that with Transformers Prime when we were working on that show. We'd go out to dinner together. We'd support each other if one of us was doing a play, that sort of thing. After almost every session of Rescue Bots, we all go out for food, and it's really great to have that kind of community. I'm working with people that I love, and that really makes it fun. And Rob Paulson talks about this all the time. He does these podcasts, and he says it's really great, to get to do professionally what you used to get in trouble for in school, and B, to get to work with your best friends every day. And that's the way it is in the industry. It's wonderful. 5 minute warning already? Wow, that went fast. Oh my God.
Well, I have one quick request.
Okay.
I love Vincent Valentine.
Okay.
And
That's me too.
could you do a quick voice?
Yeah. You ready?
Yep.
Anybody know where I can buy a phone?
Thank you so much, Steve. You're awesome.
You're welcome. I think I got the stigma.
Hi.
First of all, I just wanted to say, I love what you've done in voice acting, especially as the fabulous Orochimaru and Vincent Valentine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I was curious, where did you get your passion for voice acting?
I loved cartoons when I was a little kid, and I've been doing silly voices since I was very young. I think the first time that I really realized that I could do voices, I left a message on my outgoing answering machine on the tape, back when we used tape on the answering machines, as Goofy. And, it was just a silly impression. It was, Steve Blum here, leave a message. That kind of thing. And I got a wrong number. Somebody had called accidentally, and they heard the message, and I hear them laughing on the tape. And all of a sudden, I just hear in the background, "You gotta hear this, man!" Yes. And I get another call from their friend who was in the room, and then another call, and another call. And so I'm getting all these calls from people I've never met before, and they're saying, "All right, man, well, we like Goofy, but change it up, do something different." And so I literally would change my message every week. I put a different message on there, and all these random strangers would be calling me. And this was 10 years before I started doing voice acting. I had regular jobs. I was doing something else completely, and I never thought that would turn into a career. But I've been doing stupid voices since I was really little, so it's the perfect job for me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi.
Hey, how you doing?
Very well.
That's good. My question is, your very first role with the Transformer was Dark-Scriven Wars.
Yes. Wow.
Yeah.
Way back.
Well,
Yeah.
back to almost 14 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did you react when you're Transformer?
I had a little fangirl moment. As I'm sure any of you real Transformers fans would.
Did you reenact it?
My Transformers moment?
Your fangirl
Yeah, I think I did that. I did it silently, but I kind of turned around. Yeah. Oh, it was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still have that reaction when I got to work on Prime. I had to go and have a moment by myself in the restroom just because I'm working with Megatron and Optimus Prime. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah. Hi.
Hello again.
Hello again.
So I know you do roles that are more mature and kind of more serious, like Clive Barker's Jericho's Transformers Prime, as well as playing him on Legend of Korra.
Yes.
And then you also do more lighthearted and silly roles, such as Transformers Rescue Bots.
Yep.
So I'm just wondering, if you have like two projects kind of at the same time, is it a hard transition to go from serious to silly
Mm-mm.
at all? No?
Sometimes I have to do that in the same show with characters who are talking to each other. No, to be a successful voice actor, I think requires that weirdness in your head with that ability to really be kind of bipolar in the moment. It's something that takes a while to separate that out. The hard part for me in the beginning was to know what was going to come out before I opened my mouth, and to be able to process that in the brain before it happened. But I love doing that. And I had one day where I did a session as Wolverine in the morning, and then I come into a studio to do a show called Gurren Lagann. Has anybody seen that?
I played a character called Leon who said things like, when you screw it in, give it a hard manly twist.
I did that. I did those two characters an hour apart. And if you can't separate that out of your head, you're not going to keep working. So yeah, you have to be able to develop that skill.
Also, I just want to say I love Heatwave on Transformers Rescue Bots. He's amazing.
Thank you.
Favorite character.
Roll to the rescue. Nice, thank you. Hi.
So I was just curious, because when you're recording, you're alone. Is it difficult not to have a scene partner to react off of, or?
Well, I started at anime. For the first 10 years, I didn't work with anybody else. So for me, that's all I knew. It was my home and it's my comfort zone. So I still go back to anime sessions now, and a lot of people that are just starting out get kind of tripped up with all the technicality of it. You know, looking at the screen and matching the lips, and looking at the director and reading the script all at the same time, juggling all those things at once, and not having anybody to play off of. But that's where I cut my teeth. I didn't know any better. So when I got to work with the cast, I went, whoa, this is fun. It was a whole different thing, and we could kind of go wild. We didn't have to adhere to what's going on the screen. We could just play, and it was like a radio show. So just two very different animals, and I love them both for different reasons, and I have a really good imagination. So, it kind of unleashes that 5-year-old in me to do a scene where I don't have a partner. I have to imagine everything that they would say or do, and often without the luxury of knowing who's even going to play that role. So I can't even plug one of my friends' faces in there. So you just have to use your imagination. That's the beauty of doing that kind of work. It's playtime again. Yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
Okay, so between two of my favorite shows, Cowboy Bebop and Samurai Champloo, which one did you have more fun doing, Spike or Mugen?
Oh, God. They were both really fun in different ways. Spike, I was probably more terrified.
Yeah.
I mean, this was a huge show. It was
Yeah.
a huge show, and I knew that I was playing the lead role, but I didn't know much else about it. They just told me it was really big in Japan, and it'll probably be pretty big everywhere else once it's released. But they wouldn't even let me watch the episodes in advance. So
Really?
I had no idea, and I was scared all the time. But I was working with the fantastic director, Mary Elizabeth McGlynn, and she would support me so well. She knew the whole arc of everything, and I just felt like I had a really soft place to land. And to the point where every scene that he had a cigarette in his mouth, she would bring a cigarette for me. And I would, pretend to be smoking it through the scene. I would have it in my mouth just for realism. And by the end of the thing, I was so nervous, you'd just see flakes of the tobacco all over the floor. I was scared. And once I got to do Champloo, that was more of a technical thing. A lot of the Japanese clients were there, and they would just want to dial me in. They had very specific ways of doing things. So it was a much more structured type of environment, but I was much more seasoned by that time. So the fear level wasn't quite as bad. I think I only peed myself once.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, hello, Steve.
Hi.
I'm going to try to multitask here. You're in a zombie apocalypse, and you can only choose one person that you voice to fight by your side. Who you choose and why?
Wow, Leron. Because the zombies would just be in fear and run away.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. No, thank you. And thank you guys so much for having me here. And if I haven't met you yet, make sure we can play one more? All right, one more quick question.
So, the creators of Bebop have come out with a new show, Space Dandy.
Yes.
And have you seen any of it, and would you like to maybe do a role on it?
I would
at some
love
point?
to work on Space Dandy, but unfortunately it's done in Texas. And so it's a right to work state where they don't abide by union rules. So I'm not allowed to work on it. It's a non-union show. But we are showing it on Toonami in the States. And so I get to announce Space Dandy every week, every Saturday night. So yeah, I'll still push the show. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you guys for having me, Vancouver. And I'll see you around here.